everyone, I am Shweta Khandar, MBBS third year student from Army College of Medical Science, and I will be talking about tuning fork test. So let's get started. Tests are used for the assessment of hearing in case of hearing loss. The most common frequency of tuning fork that we use is of 512 Hz, which is considered to be ideal. Why do we use 512 Hz? Because it is better heard than felt. All those frequencies which are less than 512 Hz are better felt. That is why we use them in case of vibration sensing. Like for bone conduction and all or other forms of vibration sensing, we use the frequencies that is less than 512 Hz. In case of frequencies more than 512 Hz, they are rarely used because more the frequency, lesser the time interval. As we know that frequency is inversely proportional to time. So more the frequency, lesser the time interval, and faster will be the dampening of the vibration or the sense of vibration. That is why more than 512 Hz is rarely used. Then our ears are sensitive to 20 to 20,000 Hz of frequency. We all know that. But the frequencies which are ranging in speech, the speech frequencies are 500, 1000 and 2000 Hz. These are the range of frequencies in which we speak our normal day-to-day language or day-to-day conversation. These are the speech frequencies. So now to talk about the tuning fork test, I will have to talk about two things: air conduction and bone conduction. So before we start with these two conductive processes, I want to talk about the whole conductive process of the transmission of the sound into the ear. Okay, so the auditory pathway. What do we have in the auditory pathway? The sound is picked up by the pinna. From the pinna, via the external auditory canal, it goes and vibrates the tympanic membrane. Now from here, it enters the middle ear. We all know this thing. Then in the middle ear, we have the ossicles. So it vibrates the ossicular chain where the amplification occurs. Then of course the footplate of Stapes that covers the oval window. Then we have it enters the organ of Corti, that is it enters the inner ear, and finally in the brain the auditory pathway, and then to the auditory cortex where the sound is perceived. So one thing I want to tell you that from in the external ear and the middle ear constitute the conductive pathway of this hearing. So if there is any defect in this whole pathway, it is going to cause hearing loss. But in case of defect from the in any defect in the external ear or in the middle ear, that is from the pinna to the footplate of Stapes, if there is any defect, that will be your conductive hearing loss. In case there is any defect in the organ of Corti, which is a sense organ of hearing that is present in the cochlea, so that will lead to your sensory hearing loss, because that is a sense organ for hearing. And we since it is cochlea, so we also call it as cochlear hearing loss. Alright. So in case of any defect that is there in the auditory pathway in the brain or in the auditory cortex, that will lead to the neural hearing loss, or we can also call it as retrocochlear hearing loss. Alright. So this is the whole pathway. What I want to tell you is air conduction and bone conduction. The air conduction pathway is this whole pathway. That is, the whole pathway will be your air conduction pathway. That is, the sound from the air will enter into your ear. Alright. Air conduction will consist of all the three pathways, that is conductive, sensory and neural. Whereas bone conduction will consist of the bone conduction. What happens in bone conduction is that we are placing the tuning fork on the bone. So what is the skull bones will be vibrating, so that vibrations from the skull bone, there is no air is not involved here. The vibrations from the skull bone are going to vibrate the cochlea. So bone conduction starts from here, that is excluding the external ear and the middle ear. It starts from the inner ear itself, and this is the sensory and the neural pathway is your bone conduction pathway. Now so what is there, that sensory and the neural pathway, these are common to both air conduction and bone conduction. Another thing which I want to indicate here is that amplification occurs at the level of middle ear. Because we have the ossicular chain, and how much is the amplification of the sound that is occurring? It is 22 times. The amplification is 22 times. Why does this amplification occur? Because there is a change in the phase. That is, the sound is coming from the air and it has to enter into the cochlea. And what is there in the cochlea? There is fluid. So from the air, the sound has to go into the fluid. So of course there is a there is a difference in this phase. So of course the sound will not be able to reach up to that much extent. So there has to be an amplification that has to occur in the middle ear. Now the middle ear is involved only in air conduction, but it is not involved in bone conduction. In bone conduction, we see that it starts from here. So there is no amplification of the sound. So what is going to happen is air conduction will always be better than bone conduction. That means that air conductive sounds will be heard much better than that of bone conduction sounds. Okay, so the first tuning fork test that I am telling you about is the Rinne's test. What do we do in Rinne's test is, we take a tuning fork, preferably of 512 Hz. We can use our elbow to strike the tuning fork. We can also use the heel of our palm, or we can use the sole of our shoes. So we strike the tuning fork and we place it over the mastoid. That is the bony prominence. Alright, so we are first checking the bone conduction. So we place it over the mastoid and we ask the patient to indicate when he stops hearing. So when a patient will tell you, okay, now I don't hear it anymore, you will bring the tuning fork from the mastoid. You are going to check the air conduction now. You will bring it in front of your ears, in front of the patient's ear. Alright, the patient will, if the patient is still hearing this air conductive pathway that is in front of the ear, that means the air conduction is more than bone conduction. Why am I doing this? Because normally, in a normal ear, in your ears and my ear, the normal ear, the air conduction is always more than bone conduction. And why is it so? Because I have already told you that the air conductive pathway involves the middle ear where the amplification occurs. So because of that, you can hear the sound via air conduction for a much longer extent. So if I am placing the tuning fork on my mastoid and I cannot hear it, now I cannot hear it anymore. Now I place it on the in front of my ear and I still hear it. That means that air conduction is more than bone conduction and my ear is normal. Or what can be another option? That there is a sensory neural hearing loss. So sensory neural hearing loss, what happens? That your air conduction is decreasing, your bone conduction is also decreasing. But air conduction is still involving the middle ear. That is, whatever decrease is there, air conduction is always more than, is still higher than bone conduction, even in case of sensory neural hearing loss, because here the middle ear is normal, the external ear is normal. The defect lies, or the pathology lies, in the inner ear or after that. So there is no problem in the middle ear. So the amplification is occurring, and also in case of sensory neural hearing loss, we will be having air conduction more than bone conduction. That is a positive Rinne's test. Alright. Now what am I going to do is that, for example, I take the tuning fork, I strike it and then I place it on the mastoid. The patient is able to hear and he indicates and he tells me that, okay, now I cannot hear the tuning fork sound. So now I will place the tuning fork in front of the patient's ear. The patient says, now also I cannot hear the sound. What does that mean? That means that bone conduction is, the air conduction is not longer than bone conduction in this case. So what am I going to do is, I will try the reverse. What is the reverse of this? I will first try the air conduction. When the patient stops hearing, I will then put it on the mastoid. I will try the bone conduction then. The patient, if he still hears the bone conduction, in that case, bone conduction is more than air conduction. That indicates that it is a negative Rinne's test. Why does it occur? Because bone conduction, bone conduction eliminates the conductive pathway, that is the external ear and the middle ear. If there is any pathology in the external ear or in the middle ear, that is conductive hearing loss, which is one of the reasons of this negative Rinne's test. So in case of conductive hearing loss, definitely air conduction will be less. Of course, because there is no amplification, there is a decrease in the hearing. There is of course no amplification, so definitely the air conduction has to be less than bone conduction. Another thing is severe sensory neural hearing loss. This is basically a false negative hearing loss. Why? Because what happens in severe sensory neural hearing loss? It is like, for example, in a right ear, if there is a severe sensory neural hearing loss, the inner ear is not at all able to perceive any sound from the right side, from the right ear. So what happens? I am going to check the bone conduction. When I place the tuning fork over the mastoid, what happens? The whole skull bone, the skull bones vibrate. So the skull bones of this side is of course going to vibrate. So the cochlea from my left ear will be vibrating as well. So whatever sound I am hearing, not from my right ear but from my left ear. So that is severe sensory neural hearing loss. Okay, so when we have a negative Reni's test, we have two conditions, either conductive hearing loss or it can be a severe sensory neural hearing loss. Now, how are you going to differentiate between these two? So, we are going to perform another test, that is Weber's test. What do we do in this? We check the lateralization of the sound. And of course, the sound is going to lateralize to that ear in which the inner ear is working. Because Weber's test में हम क्या करते हैं? We take the tuning fork, we strike it and we place the tuning fork on the vertex or in the center or in the front of the forehead, on the forehead. So when we place the tuning fork on the forehead, what happens is we are testing the bone conduction over here and the sound has to lateralize. Normally what is going to happen in a normal ear, that the sound will be heard equally in both the ears because the vibrations will be sensed equally by both the ears. But if I have a right conductive hearing loss, what is going to happen? The sound is going to lateralize. Lateralize to which side? On the right hand side. So the sound will lateralize to the deaf ear. If it is right, if it lateralizes on the right hand side, it is right conductive hearing loss. Why is it conductive hearing loss in this case? Let me explain you. What happens is that when I am doing the Weber's test, I am doing the bone conduction test. So bone conduction, and then what are we testing in bone conduction? We are testing the cochlear pathway, the sensory pathway, but not the conductive pathway. That means if I am having any conductive pathway pathology, in that case the sound, that is the external sound, is not coming inside my ear and interfering with the vibrations which I am putting via this test, that is Weber's test. That means the sound is, there is no interference of the sound from the air conduction. So there is no air conduction. The conductive pathway is not working. There is no air conduction. There is only bone conduction. So definitely the sound will be heard better in that case, and that will be towards the right side where I will be having a conductive hearing loss. Now in case the sound lateralizes to the left hand side, why is it happening? Because the sound is going all through my skull bones and it is vibrating both my cochlear fluids. But what is happening is, if my right ear is not able to sense that vibration, that means there is some pathology with the right cochlea. That means I am having some right sensory neural hearing loss, and it has to be a severe sensory neural hearing loss. Why? Because these are the categories of negative Reni's test. Alright, so it has to be a right severe sensory neural hearing loss. So in that case, the sound will be lateralized to the left hand side and it will be sensed by the left ear. But the patient will not tell you that, okay, I am listening from this ear or this ear. The patient will only tell you that, okay, yes, the sound is being lateralized to the left hand side or the sound is being lateralized to the right hand side. So that is how you can differentiate between the negative Reni's conductive hearing loss and severe sensory neural hearing loss. Another point to be noted here is that Reni's test is not a very sensitive test. Weber's test is a much more sensitive test. That is, even a conductive, even a hearing loss of at least 5 decibels is there, then Weber's will be able to sense it. But there has to be a more hearing loss for Reni's test to be able to sense it as a hearing loss. Alright, another case is that in case of Reni's positive, we have two conditions, either the ear is normal or we have sensory neural hearing loss. Alright, now if I have sensory neural hearing loss in both the ears, so what is going to happen? My Reni's will be positive. Yes, of course it will be positive in both the ears. I am having sensory neural hearing loss, so my Reni's will be positive. My Weber's, will it be lateralizing? No, it will not be lateralizing anywhere. It will be heard equally in both the ears. So now what I am going to do is, I am going to perform another test, that is ABC, absolute bone conduction test. So in absolute bone conduction test, which we also call it as ABC, as the name suggests, it means bone conduction only. We only check the bone conduction. That means we are only checking the sensory neural pathway. So to ensure that we are checking the sensory neural pathway, here we close the tragus is closed so as to rule out air conduction. So what do we do in this test is, we compare the test results with that of the doctor, considering the doctor's ear is normal. So what am I going to do is, I am going to strike the tuning fork and I am going to place it on the patient's mastoid. So when I place it on the patient's mastoid, the patient will tell me, okay doctor, now I cannot hear it anymore. So then I will place it on my own mastoid. So now I will, if I am still hearing, that means the bone conduction of the patient is quite less as compared to mine. So the patient's bone conduction is less than mine, that means of the doctors or the examiners. That means the ABC is decreased, the absolute bone conduction is decreased in this case. So that means there is a sensory neural hearing loss in the patient because his sensory neural pathway is a bit defective. That is why he could not hear the bone conduction sound till when I could hear. So I could hear it for a much longer time. If it is equal, if in case the patient is not able to hear and I place it on my mastoid and I am also not able to hear, in that case the examiner's bone conduction is equal to the patient's bone conduction. That means his ear is normal. Now we have another test, that is Schwabach test. Now in this case the air conduction is also tested. That means we do not close the tragus here. What do we do over here is, this is similar to the ABC, just that the air conduction also is involved here, the conductive pathway is also involved. So what do we do is, we are going to strike the tuning fork, we are going to place it on the patient's mastoid. The patient here is, and he indicates and tells me, okay now I cannot hear, so I'll place it on my mastoid. If I can still hear, that is absolutely the same conduction, same thing that we read over here, that is the patient's bone conduction is less than that of the doctor's or the examiner's bone conduction, and that is sensory neural hearing loss, as we have discussed before. But in case I am also not able to hear, so now what can I do? Is it normal? To check this thing, what am I going to do is, I am going to strike the tuning fork, I am going to place it on my mastoid. Alright, now when I will not be able to hear anymore, I will place it on my patient's mastoid. If the patient is still able to hear, that means his bone conduction is much better than mine. Why is it happening? And in this case, if it is happening, it is a conductive hearing loss. And why is it happening is, why is he hearing more than mine? So it means that the patient's bone conduction is better. That means his sensory neural pathway is good and there is no interruption from the air conduction. In my ear, there will be an interruption from the air conduction which normally occurs. That is why air conduction ke sounds bhi aayenge. That is why I will be able to hear a bit less than the patient. Whereas in his ear, his conductive pathway is a bit defective. That is why he has conductive hearing loss. So his conductive pathway is defective. So the sounds that are coming from the air conduction is not happening. Only the bone conduction is happening. So he will be able to hear the bone conduction much better. So this is how I can indicate the conductive hearing loss in this case. So this is all about the test, the tuning fork test. I hope you like it, and please like, share and subscribe this video